You're listening to the Murphology podcast. Thanks for tuning into the Murphology podcast, aka Murph here to share interviews about biking experiences from cyclists who have pedaled to places all over. Each week, we'll get to know new people and explore new destinations to ride your bike. As you listen to these adventures, you may wonder, why haven't I done that yet? Well, if you are a gravel cyclist or maybe gravel curious, mark your calendars for October 6th through the 10th of 2026. It is the Arkansas Graveler, and Brannon Pack is on to tell us more about this fully supported multi-day gravel event that takes riders on a north to south route across the Arkansas Delta. This event is organized by Ozark Foundation, a nonprofit that puts on dozens of outdoor recreation events that showcase Arkansas. Registration opens March 3rd. And before we get to this episode, could you be sure to give this podcast a follow, a like, 5 stars, whatever it takes to show your support. It helps this podcast and me out a lot. Thanks for that. And now here is Brannon to tell us more about the Arkansas Graveler, the Delta Blues edition. A warm welcome to Brannon Pack. Hey, Brannon.
Hey, Murph. How are you doing?
Good. We've touched base over the years. We see each other at gravel events, and it's fun to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, excited to be back.
I've already talked about it in the intro, but today we're talking about the Arkansas Graveler. But I think it's also important to talk a little bit about the Ozark Foundation because that's where you work, correct?
That is, yep. I'm,
okay.
Since last we met, we've changed hats as how I serve the community.
Yeah. Okay, so we got to talk about the Ozark Foundation. We got to talk about Arkansas Graveler. But first, tell us what community you live in. And I'm going to guess it's got a pretty strong cycling culture because you live there. But let's hear it.
It is. I do. I live in Northwest Arkansas. That's home of the Razorbacks, Walmart, the Ozark Mountains, and definitely a consistently growing cycling community. Murph, we first met back at Jingle Cross in 2021.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
Yep.
At the time, I was project lead for a large investment in sport that was happening in Fayetteville, where I live, specifically cyclocross, which included the production. We did 2 UCI World Cups. We did that 2022 UCI Cyclocross World Championships. And over the last 2 decades, we've seen bicycles and outdoor recreation change the narrative for this corner of Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing that expand, right? Part of that conversation will be about the Arkansas Graveler, but these investments now, what was seeded in Northwest Arkansas, other communities in Arkansas are seeing those best practices, and it's truly spreading across the state into every corner.
Mm-hmm. I've been to kind of the Bentonville, Fayetteville area. Maybe once a year we'll get down there, and I can't believe the growth every time I go back as far as mountain bike trails, but also just paved trails and just more accessibility with bikes.
Yeah, from recreation to transportation, there's stakeholders in the region that are, looking at it through multiple lenses. And I think that's part of the, the recipe that we're seeing for success here is we are, kind of tackling both ends of, what can, the bicycle mean from recreation, but what can it also mean to solve for our transportation needs as this region, specifically Northwest Arkansas, it's exploding, Murph. We're exploding in size. And I'm excited that we've got some people helping shape this region that have that in mind as it pertains to alternate transportation.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they think Arkansas, they'll think Bentonville, but Fayetteville, isn't there a bike trail that connects the two communities?
There is. And, a lot of that investment that you've seen in the region initially was seated in Fayetteville. Mile 0 of what we were referring to, the Razorback Regional Greenway, sets in Fayetteville. And it is this spine-like, paved trail protected from cars for cyclists and pedestrians to, you can really traverse the entire region on this protected pathway, which is beautiful. It's scenic. We've dropped breweries along it, hotels along it. I mean, if you're just looking for a quick weekend tour, and out and back, which would be close to 90 miles now on that Razorback Greenway, is a great way to spend a weekend.
Wow. Do you have to be a Razorback fan to be there?
No, it's okay. I mean, that maybe that just, it's Not necessary. We don't have anyone. No one's at the gate checking your credentials there. But Woo Pig. This is hog country. We're Razorback fans around here. We've got got a great basketball team, great baseball team, great track and field program. We won't talk about football, but that's okay.
Okay. My friend Dixon Novi, who listens to this podcast, he is a huge Razorback fan. Like his bike is painted and decorated, to represent. I'm assuming it's his alma mater. I may be speaking out of line there, but
Well, he's our people. We need to bring him down to do the Arkansas Graveler.
that's right. Okay, let's segue to Ozark Foundation, which will eventually get us to Arkansas Graveler. Tell us a little bit about what Ozark Foundation is.
Yeah, quick elevator pitch. The Ozark Foundation, it's an Arkansas-based nonprofit. We exist to remove barriers to accessing the outdoors. I was most recently hired in 2023 to help oversee a transition period for this foundation where we took what had historically been a philanthropic grant-making organization and we've transformed it into, the best way I can describe it is an outdoor recreation event production nonprofit. I know that's a lot of words, but that's what we do. And we use outdoor recreational events, many that we produce in-house, to position Arkansas, our state, as a premier outdoor recreation destination. Murph will produce close to 20 outdoor recreational events ourselves. Our team will in Arkansas in 2026. We'll support 20 more.
Wow.
I tell folks that, we as a foundation, we look to produce events that are complementary to, not competitive with the market. There's other folks, nonprofits and for-profits, working in this outdoor recreational space, in the event space, but we take on the challenging events that others can't or won't do. We produce the kids events for ages 2 to 10 because for-profits won't touch them because, well, there's no money in them. But they're an integral part, they're an integral piece of a healthy outdoor community. At the other end of that spectrum are the events that are too complex for most organizations. And we've built this foundation and the team that works at this foundation to work in those underrepresented spaces.
Give us an example, when you say 20 events, plus the ones that you also support, like give us an example of what kind of events. Like they're not all cycling, right?
No, we're bike forward in approach. Obviously, we look to our investment to really anybody, our commitment to anyone that's making an investment in this outdoor recreational space is that we would look to then leverage that with event production. A lot of that investment, no secret, being made in Arkansas is around the trails themselves. And so that presents a very bike forward approach with our event production, but we don't stop there. We do all the adventure races. We've produced 5-day expedition style adventure races. Our team just produced USARA's, which is the national governing body for the sport of adventure racing. We got to produce their national championship up the road in Bentonville, Arkansas. And so we produced and created and incubated a 1-mile competitive swim. We just dove into trail running last year. And so really we're open and willing and wanting to work in multiple places in the outdoor recreational space. As we launch this foundation and this approach we've taken in event production, that bike forward approach has been the right one for us.
Some of those events sound amazing. I would probably most likely be a spectator rather than a participant, but like a mile-long swim sounds awful, but I'm sure it is very competitive.
It is. It's one of the largest, and if not the largest in the country.
Wow. Okay, let's segue to the Arkansas Graveler. I love the name in itself because everyone knows that Arkansas is a go-to state for biking. But then you're going to add gravel to it. So let's hear it.
Yeah. Man, this event, the Arkansas Graveler, it is one of our cornerstone events. It was one of the original concepts we had for events that when we as a team, that we could incubate, that we could give life to. To lead that, we brought on Scotty Moody. She's a well-known ultra endurance athlete. She was our event director. She really breathed life into this concept for us. Scotty has won some of the biggest ultra bikepacking races in the world. She's really a damn good human as well. That's always nice. The original inspiration for the Arkansas Graveler began with the Arkansas Traveler. And I don't know if you're familiar, but it's a historic song about the days of yore and really rambling through the countryside of Arkansas. We tweaked the name to represent a multi-day gravel ramble and begin planning a gravel route that would wind through some pretty challenging terrain across the Ozarks. the mission, and that's the mission of the Graveler, truly is to celebrate the beauty and culture of the natural state by providing, Murph, an epic adventure for touring cyclists,
Mm-hmm.
and while also slowing down to create economic opportunities for the rural communities that live along the routes that we develop each
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm. I assume most people that listen to this podcast at least understand what gravel biking is like, but I think that you just described it perfectly because gravel in itself it's a challenging form of biking because the terrain that you're on is so different, mile to mile, but it's so peaceful in my opinion.
Very much so. And there's some peaceful places in Arkansas. I'll give you a little bit more. The Graveler is fully supported. It's
Mm.
an all-inclusive multi-day gravel tour, goes across the state. We like to call it America's most hospitable gravel ride.
Mm.
Arkansas is rich with gravel roads. We've talked about, the cycling infrastructure that's being developed, but the reality is we have 70,000 miles of gravel roads in Arkansas that, meander through 6 unique geological regions.
Wow.
And the Arkansas Graveler, well, Murph, it's a love letter to the state. That's what it
Dear Arkansas.
is.
Will you tell us about specifically about the terrain? And the reason I ask that is because when you're in Iowa, it's basically county by county. There's different quality of gravel. There's a different way that they put it down or don't put it down. So what's the gravel like in Arkansas?
It's changing, ever changing, and a lot of that has to depend with where you're at. And as I mentioned, there are 6 unique geological regions in Arkansas, and
Mm-hmm.
each one of those regions, which year over year, it's our intent to highlight each one, sometimes multiple ones as part of one of these editions of the Graveler. But you take 2024, our inaugural year, where we supported gravel cyclists as they truly punch their way through the beautiful but challenging Boston mountain range of the Ozark
Mm.
Mountains.
Oh,
It
wow.
also, yeah, and that is the Bostons are the highest elevation in all the Ozarks, and so you can imagine there was some pretty challenging days as it, like that mile per gravel of elevation got a little high
Mm.
at times. It also just so happened to align with the first heat advisory of the year.
Oh.
And a normal heat dome, Murph, words you never want to hear in outdoor event production, settled over Arkansas as we rolled out of the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville to spend 6 days riding through the Ozark National Forest. We went campus to campus year one. We started at Arkansas, the University of Arkansas. We finished at Arkansas State University in Jonesboro. Our team killed it with hospitality,
Mm.
but the overall experience was a little too hard and it was a little too hot. And
Ah.
we learned. And so then in 2025, our second edition, we moved the event's timing up a couple of weeks. We went into early June this year. We did beat the heat. We cut off a day of the overall ride as we learned from participant feedback that,
Mm-hmm.
we're sensitive as a nonprofit to the barriers to participating in multi-day tours. And Murph, we know they typically require 2 things: it's time and money, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
and a bicycle, of course. But our inaugural 6-day experience required folks to give up 2 weekends for a week of riding, which is going to be a barrier for many. And so by shifting to this 5-day model, which we're going to continue on with in our third edition, we feel it's a little bit more palatable of an experience and allow more folks to join us, which is what we're looking for. This last year, we were able to showcase the Ouachita Mountains, a different geological region in the state. They run from west central Arkansas, they run from Oklahoma into west central Arkansas, and they're
Mm-hmm.
really a unique mountain range because if you think of the mountains in North America, you kind of think north and south, and these mountains run east and west, which is very
Oh.
uncharacteristic for a mountain range in North America, but created this amazing canvas for a
Mm.
multi-day gravel ride through what I think is just one of the most prettiest parts of the state and the Ouachita National Forest. The mountains were alive with water. Spring had sprung. I mean, it really was a breathtaking week of riding. And we still had some challenges, right? A little severe weather throughout the week, but our team was ready. We had a solid risk management plan and created a really rewarding experience from folks
Mm.
from 32 different states this year.
A quick interruption to tell you this week's podcast is sponsored by Lizard Lips Lip Balm. These great lip balms contain natural ingredients, come in a variety of flavors, and you can choose certified organic or balms with sun protection. Check it out at lizardlips.net. Now back to the show. Have you already started planning for 2026?
We have. Obviously, doing a multi-day tour takes a considerable amount of planning.
Yes.
And so, what we found going year one into, our first edition to second edition is about the time we finished in June of 2024. We were already behind in creating this experience for 2025.
Yeah.
And so as we had always committed to creating one of these experiences in the fall. And so we've announced that in the fall of 2026 that we are moving the event from what historically has been a late spring type experience into the fall, which is a completely different riding experience and something I'm excited to create for folks that if you've joined us year one or year two and are considering coming back to year three, you're going to find it to be a total different season in the state, which, as you know, creates a totally unique riding experience all into itself.
Right.
One update for 2026 is that Scotty has chosen to pursue other passions for a bit. She stepped away from the world of event production. We're excited for her and to see what she accomplishes in other spaces, which, Murph, that means you get me. I don't know that it's an equal trade-off, but gravel riding in Arkansas is my passion. I was the course director of our past editions, and I'm excited and honored to build on what Scotty truly helped us to create.
So let's talk 2026. Do you have the dates set in stone yet?
We do. And so I'll give you a little update here. So the Arkansas Graveler, and this is coming next year, and this is my pitch to your audience. I want y'all to consider that in the Arkansas Graveler, we will invite cycling adventure seekers to swap the mountainous climbs of the Ozarks and the Ouachitas for the farm-rich flatlands of the Arkansas Delta.
Oh.
What we are calling the Delta Blues Edition is more than a multi-day ride. Murph, this is a one-of-a-kind tour that will blend gravel roads, music, food, and community into a powerful tribute to the Delta's soul. It's going to be on October 6th through 10th, 2026. We're inviting your audience and touring cyclists from around the country to join us and discover the Delta. Every mile is going to carry a song. Every meal in the Delta tells a story. And I promise this is going to draw you deeper into the heart of the South. It's an amazing place to experience. Most people have never seen or experienced the Delta, and we are excited to showcase that with a multi-day ride October 6th through 10th of 2026.
I love that. Kind of like, you think about here in Iowa, Ragbri, the route is different every year. So there's a reason to go back and do it again. And I love that you have changed your route each year. As you are growing and learning, but it sounds like 2026 is going to be completely different from 2025.
Completely different, as 2025 was completely different from 2024.
Right. And is this like a camping event? Is it an out and back? Is it across the state? How does the ride actually progress?
Yeah, let me set that stage, right? So the Delta Blues Edition is, really, as we spoke about our foundation, what we look to leverage in event production is these investments being made. And currently, there's these larger investments being made for gravel cyclists in Arkansas right now in the Arkansas Delta. The first is Crowley's Ridge Gravel Trail. Crowley's Ridge itself is one of those 6 unique geological regions in Arkansas. It's this shouldn't exist. It's this narrow rolling hill region that rises about 250 feet above the Delta. It's often referred to as the sunken roads, which is, as the ridge's composition, I've learned about this, it's basically windblown dust. It's broken down over generations of wagon and war. It's left in its place these 30-foot tall walls along a singular one-lane gravel road. It's nothing like you've ever experienced on a gravel bike. It is truly incredible. The Ridge Trail itself, it's a project that's being brought to life by a nonprofit called Studio Drift. The ridge runs from Missouri down to Marianna before continuing south through a pocket, the St. Francis National Forest, which is one of the national forests here in Arkansas, and it terminates at a historic downtown Helena, Arkansas. It's 249 miles in one direction
What?
with a total elevate one singular gravel road with a total elevation gain of about 10,000 feet. And that shouldn't scare anybody. You do some quick math. That's about 40 feet per mile.
Mm-hmm.
We plan to break that whole experience up coming on and off the ridge along the way. There's 7 state parks. There's a national forest. There's 18 Delta towns along the ridge. The other large investment being made in the Delta is the Delta Heritage Trail. And I'm a fan of rails as trails. This is a brand new rail to trail development in Arkansas. It's being managed by Arkansas State Parks. It takes that management model from like the Katy Trail in Missouri, where when you're on the trail, you're actually in a state park. And when the rail trail project is complete, it's currently under construction. It will be around 85 miles long and connect Lexa, Arkansas to the historic town of Arkansas City. And Murph, it spans both the White River and the Arkansas River. And I can't describe this investment. It's something that touring cyclists need to experience themselves, like riding across these massive multi-span bridges over large bodies of water in some of the most remote, historically significant lands in Arkansas. It'll take your breath away. And it really will. People are going to take pause when they see this, because it is truly an incredible experience to have by bike. In addition to that, there's some really other things working in our favor. There's several levee systems on the eastern side of Arkansas, which include maintained publicly accessible maintenance roads along the St. Francis and the Mississippi. You've probably ridden some levee trails, as well as portions of the Trans-American or TAT Trail run right through that side of the state as well. And so we're going to stitch all those together for this really rewarding north to south multi-day gravel tour. We're going to start in a town of Jonesboro, which is a nice sized town in the northeast corner of the state, real close to Memphis. It's easy to get to by car. Sits just north of the interstate, easy to get to by plane for those that are looking to fly in to have an experience like this. And we'll terminate at this really historic community known as Arkansas City in the southeast corner of the state.
And is it a typical multi-day event where you haul everybody's gear and have campgrounds?
Yep, it is. It is, when we think about it, it is a camping event, right? And while you ride, we move the show. That includes all your gear. We're going to take that, pick it up, and move it to the next unique overnight venue. It is a predominantly camping event. We do elevate that experience. This is an all-inclusive experience. We drag along climate-controlled restrooms, climate-controlled shower houses.
Oh, sure.
Last year, 35% of our participants took advantage of local hotels and short-term rentals, and we identify those options should folks want to seek that out. Plus, RVs are welcome. We have non-rider participants. Some overnight venues will have hookups and dump stations. Some won't. But if you've had that RAGBRAI experience where you're traveling in an RV, you take turns driving, we create a system that's supportive of that. One thing we are sensitive to and recognize is that by design, we seek out some of the more rural communities in Arkansas, which oftentimes don't have emergency services or bike shops readily available. And so to solve for this, Murph, we established a mobile emergency unit in partnership with the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences. We bring a doctor, EMT, nurses. They literally travel with us. We establish a mobile doctor's office at each overnight venue. Our medical professionals are on course each day. We partner with Fat Tire Bike Shop, an Arkansas-based bike shop, to establish a mobile bike shop. They travel with us. That's available for participants at each overnight venue. Plus, the mechanics ride the course each day. Oh, wow. Separate from that, we have a full SAG on course each and every day. I mean, we are truly ready to take care of bodies and bikes at any time and give each individual participant the experience they want or sometimes need to have, right? The goal is, though, that everyone crosses that finish line and can ultimately call themselves an Arkansas graveler.
Yeah. I'm kind of trying to visualize this because you're describing it so well. So there's going to be towns that you go through while you're cycling, but I'm going to guess there's some rural areas as well. So have you, and maybe you don't know yet for 2026 because it's so far away, but do you have any unique experiences that you can share, whether it's the past or coming up?
I do. I don't want to give it all away. But that said, we are kind of far down the road, right? As far as route development, we've been at this. And so we do have some real exciting experiences in the works, in addition to a really diverse riding experience, which we discussed. Folks can expect. I'm gonna give some things away here. The King Biscuit Blues Festival and the largest annual celebration of the blues west of the Mississippi. You'll discover the historical significance of the Louisiana Purchase State Park. Next year, I know as this country's bicentennial, the national historic landmark that preserves the initial point where all surveys of property acquired through the Louisiana Purchase, really what started the westward expansion of the United States. You'll get to visit Marvell, Arkansas, and the childhood home of Levon Helms. He's a famous and well-known musician who headlined the band. Stuttgart, Arkansas, the duck hunting capital of the world. I mean, we've got there's some really rewarding, unique experiences that we are, baking into our route design. It's a ride, not a race. We want people to slow down and, roll away with, pun intended, really the historical significance of Arkansas, specifically the Delta area, and what it means to, the history of blues music. I mean, and the reality is that the roots of the blues are firmly planted in the Delta soil. It's where scholars say the music was born. So participants should expect to, leave with a better appreciation for the blues music as we're working on some memorable ways to make that happen, both on course and in the evening.
Wow. This is a well-rounded event. I mean, it's so much more than biking, which biking is obviously the star, but wow.
Yeah. I mean, again, that speaks to, what do riders do after the ride? And as you mentioned, Arkansas, we're rich with gravel roads, and we knew that the gravel riding experience, we had to get that right. But an equal emphasis on after the ride, including outdoor activities, could really define what separated the Arkansas graveler from other tours. And that's why I like to say that the competition starts when the riding stops. Our after the ride activities, in partnership with Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, we feature a variety of other outdoor recreational offerings in Arkansas. Murph, you get to skeet shoot, archery, fly fishing, duck call competitions. It's like adult summer camp by gravel bike. If we're doing our jobs right, it's those, we're going to activate those core childhood memories for many.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Do you cap this event? Like, do you have a limit to how many people can participate?
We do. We do have a cap on it. A lot of that we as a team are sensitive to the overall participant experience. And so we do cap this ride at 400 each year. Okay.
People who are maybe thinking about doing this event, I mean, there's still a great opportunity to be part of it.
Yeah, it is a very rewarding. It is a shared experience you'll have with many folks come from literally all over the country now to have this experience. And so, yeah, it's, 400 we feel is kind of that sweet spot that we can deliver on the experience we're talking about, the one we're committed to. But we're also protective of that.
Sure. So, okay, everyone's been listening. Now they're like, wow, I got to learn more about this Arkansas Graveler. Do you have a website or a link that you can share that we can all go to look after? Tell them to wait till after we're done with this podcast, but then they'll go there.
Right. Yeah, we'll be announcing additional route details, official overnight cities in January. Registration opens on March 3rd for our third edition. See what we did there. Yeah. If you don't, I'd encourage folks to follow Arkansas Graveler on social media. That's both Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, cool.
If you jump over to Instagram, you can watch a story highlight from our scouting trip last October, including some shenanigans the course crew got themselves into. And to keep up to date, I'd encourage folks to sign up for our newsletter at arkansasgraveler.com.
Excellent. All right. And then any partners or sponsors that you want to plug while we're here?
Yes. I think Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism has been an integral partner as we've developed the concept and through now 2 editions into our third. Participants will experience several of Arkansas's 52 state parks along the way. And I hope that everyone leaves with a better understanding of how Arkansas truly has shaped the history of blues music and more.
I didn't even ask this, but I assume that I already know the answer. But what kind of bicycle do you have to have for this? I mean, can it be your stick bike? Does it need to be bigger tires with gravel? Does it need to be a fat bike?
That's, that's a great question, and that, I think that differs year by year. Murph, after 2 years, we've seen folks show up on all kinds of bikes,
Yeah.
and that's the truth. And I think for this next edition, it will be our most accessible, meaning that the elevation, the topography, the riding terrain is some of the, it's not as challenging as other editions that we've produced. In total, get a little bit more away here, we're probably looking at a total of around 370 miles over 5 days. That's roughly 75 miles a day, but the total elevation gain is only 20 feet per mile. A good portion of that you're going to get out of the way within the first 2 days.
Okay.
And so it really is going to be inviting to a lot of people. I think when we release the routes and at least the route details, you start to wrap your head around it. This will be a very accessible experience for most. You're right. The bike can be a barrier. Don't show up on a road bike. But even some of, I know gravel bikes of the industry's been all over, bigger tires, smaller tires. I don't think it's going to take an aggressive bike to get this experience done. You've got a mountain bike, bring it. You probably won't need all the gears. A good solid, steel frame bike is going to get, gravel bike will get it done. Bring your carbon fiber race bike. I mean, I think this is really going to, a bike likely shouldn't be the barrier as long as you've got something that can, at minimum, I'd say be able to throw some 32s on there with some good tread. But, for the most part, yeah, it's going to be a very doable and rewarding experience.
Excellent. Okay, so you said March 3rd is when you can register, but in the meantime, check out the social media sites, Arkansas Graveler. And then if people want to know more about Ozark Foundation, do you have a website for that?
We do, ozarkfoundation.org. I'd encourage folks to jump on there and see how we, as a nonprofit, are, doing exactly what we say we want to do and set out to do, which is remove barriers to access to the outdoors. We've got a huge variety of events here in Arkansas that we produce on an annual basis. Again, we support about 20 others that are looking to do meaningful work in places that we're not. And so, yeah, you can find out more about the work that myself and my team does at ozarkfoundation.org.
Easy enough. And I think I'll do one more plug for Arkansas, even though I feel like we've spent a half an hour plugging Arkansas. But it's a place where you can bike year round, right?
It is. And that's something that, when you think about these cycling destinations around the country, and listen, there's plenty that have been at this game much longer than Arkansas. I will tell you, though, the investment being made in Arkansas right now is, I don't think it's matched in the country. We've got buy-in from the top down and bottom up, from community members to state leadership. We all now recognize and see the value of what a bicycle means for the quality of life of the natural state. And it is year-round riding. Murph, I ride my bikes 12 months a year. We do get a little snow in parts of the state. It gets a little cold here and there. It gets a little hot here and there. But the reality is it's year-round recreation in Arkansas. And we have picked, by design, this October date in the Delta because we know it to be. My team went out and rode the exact week this year that we plan to produce the event next year,
smart.
so that we could feel it ourselves, so
Yeah.
we could see it ourselves, so we could understand, what kind of, what the environment, we'll say, felt like during that time. It was amazing. Lows in the high 50s, high in the low 80s, just perfect time to be on a bike in Eastern Arkansas.
And you know what else is perfect? I looked at my calendar and I am open those dates. So I may have to cruise on down to Arkansas in October.
Murph, that was going to be my last thing, was to invite you, but there you go. If I did my job, I didn't have to. So
Exactly.
would love for you to come down and spend a week with us exploring the Arkansas Delta. And like I said, have this, what is a really rewarding way to spend a week on a bicycle.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Brannon. Like, it was, you can tell that you have a lot of passion for Arkansas, for cycling, for the nonprofit world. So thank you for your time.
Murph, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. And look forward to seeing you soon. Who knows? Maybe next October.
That's right. Well, listeners, that's it for this week. Email me at murphologypodcast@gmail.com if you have a topic or the name of a cyclist you find interesting. And visit both my Facebook and Instagram pages for daily entertainment. I have more great episodes in the pipeline, so I hope you continue to be a Murphology podcast listener.